get votes. And I'm going live again. I feel like this is an extreme close-up. However, I've tried to adjust things so that I can have a less precarious live streaming setup because I'm going live to YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram all at the same time. Now, I tried to get a special mic set up for Instagram because I noticed last week sound was a little bit shaky, but sorry about that. Instagram, I will get it set up for you next week. And you can kind of hopefully see that for the month of August, I'm talking about last week, this week, next week, that I am going live to chat about all things singing, specifically the questions that I get asked most often as a vocal coach, which I am. I'm also a professional singer, and I just really enjoy sharing the nuggets of goodness that I've cobbled together over my literally 35 years of singing as a professional singer, but also then learning how to become a vocal coach. I had to learn or relearn a couple of things about my singing and practice process. And that's kind of what I'm here to talk about today is the number one practice for improving your singing. Okay, so it sounds super clickbaity, but baity. But I promise you it's not. So how it basically evolved, let me start by telling you a little bit of a story about what I just hinted at, being a professional singer for quite a while. And then I got an opportunity to be a singing teacher at a local like polytechnic here in Auckland, New Zealand, where I am, which is called Mains. This was about like maybe 2012. And whilst I knew I was self-trained and I knew that I could sing, I knew there was things that I needed to work on. But what I didn't know was what on earth it was that I was doing to be able to share that process, the techniques with other people when I was teaching singing. And so I started this journey of learning about the voice. And in the beginning, it was an interesting one because I couldn't find a lot of information here locally in New Zealand or in Auckland, where I am, about contemporary voice. I know there's a lot more now, and I definitely don't want to detract from some of the great facilities that are teaching voice here in New Zealand. But at that point, that was like, 9 years ago, there wasn't a lot. And so I was in a position where I think I was a new mum, like my youngest is turning 12, and I didn't really have the ability to be able to go on campus and study. And so I was introduced to the world of online learning. And to say it's changed my life is an understatement. Firstly, I was able to learn about singing, and I ended up doing 2 years at this amazing school. Try and get it right. That's my certificate there, called Berkeley College of Music, and this is their online department. So the first year I studied all the basics, the prerequisites like voice technique, fundamentals. I did some ear training and I did some theory, some musicianship. I also did like a local paper here with Massey University on music theory as well. But the gold happened the second year of study. So again, because I was a mum of a young child at that point, and now I'm sort of semi-retired from performance, but at that point 9 years ago, it was my full-time job. So I was touring all the time, and I wasn't stuck in, I wasn't in one place to be able to learn. And the lessons I would be doing in my hotel room and bed like at 5 o'clock in the morning because it was Eastern time. And whilst that was challenging, what it taught me was that I could learn wherever I was, however I wanted to. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir right now because it's a thing now. Online learning is a big thing. But then I was like, this is amazing. So I decided to do a second year and I decided to specialize even further. And so I studied pop rock, jazz vocals. I can't even remember, it was so long ago. But that's the second part of the specialization. And I had this amazing singing teacher, and she's actually Pink, as in the Pink artist. She's her keyboard player in her touring band, Ariana. Her name is Adriana. Oh my God, getting confused. And it was so amazing and enlightening to be able to learn from somebody that I knew was doing it, like so professional musician, singer like me. But what we did that was the game changer, and I'm getting to the point, I know this is a long-winded, the punchline is coming, was when and because it was an online learning program, what we had to do is I had to submit one song per week. It was a 12-week course, so like a semester, and each week we learnt about the history of singing styles, what socially and culturally contributed to particular styles being developed, which blew my mind, loved it. But to really get into that and understand it, we needed to take the song and sing it exactly as it was written. So, not our own embellishments, not our own, like what I lovingly call default settings added in or anything like that. And it was a challenge. In fact, the first year kicked my butt as well. I have to admit, I was a little cocky going into it. But the first year, I think we had to do like, anyway, I'm digressing. The point is, I had to submit an assignment. And when I submitted my assignment to my professor, Adriana, I had to do a video. And what it did is it taught me that, well, firstly, singers are all vain. We want to get it right. We want to do things 10 times over and be perfectionists. And I learned that you end up blowing your voice out because you're not thinking about the key three things that you need to think about, which I'll get to in a second. But what it taught me is watching myself back was fascinating. And I never thought about it until, of course, I had to submit these assignments. But the way that I was given feedback on the performance, on the videos, was that Adriana would play the video and she would record her feedback via audio. And so she'd say, excellent, the first verse, you've done this, you've done this. Okay, here where you get to the chorus, this here, try this, do this. And I was like, this is amazing. I couldn't believe it. And so I wanted to take it as a tool that I could use in my coaching. This is years later, once I'd kind of got myself situated. And I created what I call a video performance review. So it's a coaching tool or something that you can, a service, I should say, that you can book me to do. But the point is, you don't need me to do it right now. The key thing, the number one practice that you can do to improve your singing is to video yourself every time you open your mouth. And so I'm talking about practice, I'm talking about performances, I'm talking about polishing sessions. And the key thing that I hinted at before is that you need to do it through a particular lens. And I don't mean like a camera, I mean your own lens. First, turn up, be kind to yourself, and you record yourself. The first rule is 3 takes only. 3 takes. The second rule is, well, I don't really have any rules for singing. Just don't, if it hurts, don't do it. But let's call these rules for improving your practice, for improving your singing. The second rule is that you want to lead with 3 things when you're watching back that you enjoyed about your performance. So I need you to look for the gold, look for the good, and pat yourself on the back and say, man, my tone was really good. Or I love the embellishment that I did. Or I love the way that I finished that line. Or wow, I didn't realize I could hit that note with that particular voice quality. Whatever it is. And there's a list of, I have a performance checklist that I look at that goes from rhythm, phrasing, interpretation, pitching, melody, breath, like there's so many things we can look at. But you just look back and note the 3 things that you really loved about the performance. Then the next part and the final part is that you then also go, what 3 things can I work on? And often when I was working at Mains, I would initiate this conversation and say, what do you love about your voice? And everyone would just go silent. I could never think of anything good. And then I went, okay, well, let's go, like, what would you like to work on? And then the list, it would be like unrolling a scroll, and everyone would be like, this. And so I need us as singers to focus on our identity and our positive mindset about our voices first and foremost, because that'll keep you going, keep you focused on the right thing, which is the singing and the storytelling. It's not about beating yourself up. It's always about just a little bit better each time you turn up, or having some tools that you can call upon to make yourself feel more confident. And I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second as well. So when you video yourself and you watch yourself back and you note those 3 things that you love about performing, about that performance, and then 3 things that you maybe want to improve upon, the great thing is that then informs what you can do in your practice next time. And you can be super specific about focusing on particular techniques, or just singing the song through and tweaking the particular elements that you needed to improve upon. Or you might find, oh, my pitching isn't great. So you might do a whole practice session of ear training or pitch matching with the piano, or a phone app, piano phone app. The options are endless. The point I'm making is the best thing that you can do to improve your voice is to review what you're doing with regularity. Now, audio recordings are cool. They're all good. But what you miss is how it looks. And I mean that from a postural perspective, and not because I want you to stand like an opera singer and have neutral posture the whole time, but it's a great tool in practice for troubleshooting. So for checking, like, if I am tilting my chin, is that serving me? Is it making it harder for me to sing the high notes? And I'll give you the exact example for myself that was brought to me. Was I was doing this with my shoulders every time I was singing, and it wasn't necessarily like as I was, anticipating a high note or anything. It was just this habit that I did. But like, if you're in a place that you feel comfortable to do this right now, just do this like over and over and over again for 3 minutes. You will feel a little bit of tension in your neck, and your neck is a surrounding muscle for your larynx, which is where your vocal folds live in. It's just unnecessary tension. Now, like Pink, once you have the fundamentals down and the muscle memory set and coordinated, you can then go and sing swinging from the rafters and, stand on your head singing. So it's not about, again, standing in any kind of particular position for performance, but in the practice and the polish phase, I highly encourage you to try to stand still, because what you need to do, you're seeing and you're watching and you're looking back, but is you also want to feel what muscles are working when I'm singing, because that's the key. If you can get down to that muscle memory and that isolated muscle control, you can figure out how to troubleshoot. You can figure out your own signature sound recipe, because you're like, oh, every time I do a high note, my larynx moves up, or whatever you start to identify. Sonic feedback. So it's usually, in my world, how does it feel first to make a sound? How does it look secondly? And then how does it sound? Because the sonic is the last part of the process. Like, if you've set all the muscles up right, the sound should come out the way you intended it. If the sound comes out and it's not the way you intend it, you can't pull it back in once it's out. So getting really comfortable with how it feels is super helpful as a secondary, as a primary tool, and then how it looks from a sense of, what am I doing? Is it serving my structural song, singing, and tension, with a view to tension in particular? Like, that's the first thing. Tension is the enemy of the singer. So you video yourself in practice, you watch yourself back, you take these notes, 3 things you loved, 3 things you want to work on, and then you go off and you spotlight with specific exercises if it's techniques, or you repeat the song in practice, focusing just on that one spot. So like using the shoulder lifting example, say I'm singing through the song and my whole goal, one focus at a time, is to not move my shoulders. It sounds easy, but it really isn't when it's like a habit, when you've got habits, habitual things that you do. So like, just trying, and you can see I talk with my hands. You can imagine what I say. I'm a hand singer. I sing with my hands as well. And so the controlling of the shoulders was something that really took me a long time to get a handle on, but boy, did it work. And now the shoulder thing, for me particular, everybody's different, but was a 1% increment that I could improve upon to help me to sing better without tension. I release the tension. So I'm removing the barriers, getting them out of the way so that the sound production components on the inside can do what they need to do. That fine, super fine muscle control can coordinate efficiently. And that was just such a huge game changer. And I found that from videoing myself and watching back. Fast forward to today, 9 years later, I'm still using it. So I literally video every single practice that I do when I'm learning a new song. So I don't often have to learn new songs these days because I'm not singing so much unless I'm doing a studio session. But there was one particular song that I wanted to workshop because it challenged voice quality coordination that I've been working on forever. As you can probably tell, I'm quite a loud person. And so for me to speak speak with volume or sing with volume and about, it's very easy because that's kind of how I live every day. I'm loud. But the lighter qualities in my voice, not so much, even though we utilize them quite a bit in singing. So let's use traditional kind of bel canto terminology, like chest voice is where I speak, and head voice is maybe where I want to be singing more or having more control over. So in my new understanding of these terminologies, I call it speech quality and cry quality. And so I would just sing through this particular song. I think it was a song from The Greatest Showman called Never Enough. That was it. And the range was great for me. And just thinking about that, last week I did a live on how to pick songs that suit your voice and to make them your own. And this is for practice and performance opportunities. And so I did exactly what I said or asked y'all to do, is to pick a song that you can focus on because you might know something that you want to work on. So I picked this song and I videoed myself singing through it, all the challenges, raw, wild. It was crazy. But I mean, I showed my students in a monthly coaching session that I did because I wanted to say, look, here I am doing what I'm asking you to do. It's not pretty. It doesn't have to go on YouTube. This is a personal observation tool. So video performance review. So I do that in my own practice, but today more regularly, I do it for performances. So the band that I sing backing vocals for is called LAB here in New Zealand. We are very lucky to have quite a good setup from a production perspective, and the amazing lighting and visual team, shout out to Jack, out front quite often record the entire performance. And so they will upload it and the whole band independently will watch it back, and the singers like Joel, myself will have a chat about it after we've watched it. But Lisa, who's the other backing vocalist, Lisa and I will watch it back and we'll sometimes be like, hey, your elbow is like it's usually me. She's great. It's usually me. I'll be like, oh my God, your elbow, it's like right there in line with your shoulder and you're clicking on the beat. And so it's not just like a vocal thing that we can develop. I mean, don't get me wrong, we are listening like very, very, very closely to our vocals and what we can do better. But we'll even break it down as a performance tool where we're like, oh, I'm going to try and click a little bit quicker on the downbeat of the 4, to try to look a bit more snappy. And we will review the whole process. So it's more, what I guess I'm getting at is that it's a tool that you can use. And really, in my opinion, before everything else, it is the number one tool for improving your singing. Now, I'll put a disclaimer on that before you overlay any techniques onto into your practice or into your day, you do need to make sure that your vocal health is in a good place, and that you've got daily vocal care habits in check. But that's a story for another day. That's just my disclaimer. But what I want you to do is I want you to try this out. And why it's cool is I think last week I embarrassed myself by saying that I'm new to watching the program Catfish and got a bit obsessed. I've just realized telling the story, I'm going to embarrass myself again. But I love the program Hoarders. And I need to go to therapy. I think I need to go to therapy. So what I love about the Hoarders program I mean, it's very tragic, obviously, but what I like about it is that there is a before and an after. And that is essentially what I'm asking you to do with these videos, is because it's not a one and done. It's every time you sing, you video yourself, you watch it back, you list 3 things you like, you list 3 things you want to work on. It informs your practice. You go to the performance, you feel better. You video the performance, you watch back, you look at what you were thinking was something that needed to tweak. You're like, oh, I nailed it. But there was this, this, and this. And it's this beautiful cycle that keeps you engaged with your singing development process and hopefully helps you to feel confident as long as you're being kind to yourself and always giving yourself that, what are 3 things that are really good about this performance? And so I think over time, that as a tool, number 1, but certainly it's a tool that I would start all my coaching with. So I will ask every singer I work with to do this or to send me a video of them self-performing, or we will pick a song at the front end, or they might already have a song that they're workshopping, and we'll just sing through it. And because I teach online only, I video all the Zoom sessions. I take the video at the end of the session and I upload it to a Dropbox folder and I say, hey, watch back. Even if it's not a song, it might be sirening or a particular technique. I'm like, watch back, look at yourself, look at what your jaw's doing, look at list all the things. And then that's something that they can do where in the moment they're thinking about the coaching, but they can watch back and work. And the great thing about a video is that you can rewind it and you can fast forward it and you can watch it on 2 speed if you're freaking out. But the key thing is that it's a tool that you can use that you want to start the process with. And so with my coaching curriculum, my goal is to give all of the tools that I've cobbled together over time as part of what I call my Singers Technique Toolkit. And the video performance review is at the front. That's the starter. And I'm excited to say that I am taking this curriculum online. The course is opening in September, and I'm kind of I've got a wait list at the moment, actually. So if you want to jump onto it to be the first to find out all the details about the course, little secret, module 1 or your pre-work is doing a video performance review that you can give to me and I will give you feedback on it, which I think I haven't actually even come full circle on and telling you about. I'll tell you that in 1 second. But yeah, what you can do is basically find out about how I coach my clients in this online course that I'm going to be running in September. So you can get on the wait list, bignotesgetvotes.com/wait list, and you'll find out all the dates once that opens. I think there's like 4 days left before the wait list opens. So you've got to get on it before, I think it's Monday. And the first thing that we're going to do when I'm running the online course live, sort of like a group online coaching program, is we're going to do this video performance review. So in my coaching practice, if you book a video performance review session with me, you send me a video of you performing, and then I watch it. I do a little screen record, and I stop and I start and say, oh, see there where you were going for that high note, try to do this, and whatever the feedback is. And so it's a great tool as a coaching resource for me to offer to people. But like I said, it's the thing that gets the most yeehaws from all of my clients because they have that tool that they can rewind, fast forward, practice with, look at. And this is the same thing. You don't need me to do this. You can do this all by yourself. I want you to try it. Will you give it a go? Will you tell me? Drop in the comments and let me know. Have you done this before? Do you video yourself regularly? Watch back, let it inform your practice. You give yourself props about what's going well. If not, will you try it? The only thing that I would say from a technical perspective is that you just make sure that it's kind of like head height like this and that you can see your torso, which you can't see right now with me. But just so that you can see if there's any tension from sort of like the waist up. And I mean like, any of this kind of thing going on. It really doesn't need to be a high-tech process. When I first started doing them, I would take my phone and like put a big glob of blue tack on the back and like stick it on a window so that I had some natural light coming back at me. So helpful. The audio as well doesn't need to be super fancy, but you definitely don't want to have any kind of distortion or anything happening, and then you just watch it back. And yeah, I'd love to know, A, if you've done that before, B, if I've maybe talked you into doing or trialing one. And yeah, if you have any questions. Now, this is the thing. These lives, I wanted to share something, a particular coaching tool like today, but I also am gathering questions that I've been getting. And I just want to give a couple of shout outs because I've had two really great questions or conversations over on YouTube. First up is Jesus is Luke Skywalker. Hey, thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for commenting and engaging with me and sharing with me your singing development process. It's really cool to see. And also Elena, one of my clients, always learning, amazing singer, asked me an amazing question about hormones and how they impact your singing voice, and if there might be some optimum times, particularly females in your cycle, how that might impact if there's a better week than another hormonally to maybe record vocals. And it's such a great question, and the answer is yes. And so because it's quite a complex question, I'm just going to do a whole video on it. And I'm inviting more questions, any kind of comments that you got, because it really gives me some awesome insight into what you need help with. And then I can kind of share my thoughts and my experiences with it, and hopefully help you out as well. So to wrap up, the number one practice you can do to improve your singing is to video yourself and watch back, what I call a video performance review. And if you want some extra help, come and hang out with me in the Singers Technique Toolkit, which is opening in a couple of weeks. Jump on the wait list at bignotesgetvotes.com/waitlist so you can find out all the information first before the doors open. Yeah, and I just think, go and sing. Go and pick a song. Watch last week's video if you need help deciding. Video your song. If you're feeling brave, share a link with me. Pop it up on YouTube. I'd love to see it. But yeah, go ahead and do it. It will absolutely help you to sing better. And that is the goal. So yeah, have a great day. And I look forward to reading any comments that you've written, and I will answer them straight after this. Take care. Bye.